Alright everybody, it's our Klaus here and a phenomenal video for you today. I want to talk about this number 515 extensively and how prevalent it is throughout the entertainment industry. I'm going to connect everybody from the Disney personality Bridgit Mendler to the heavy metal band Slipknot, as well as Tool, The Who, David Bowie, a whole list of other things. We're going to talk about some buildings and a whole host of current events going on right now. But so to baseline and remind a number of you, this 515 we've been talking about because it appears in Dante's Purgatory, in which he encounters a mysterious messianic messenger in chapter 33. And so the angel that he is talking to is christened with a 500, a 10, and a 5 across his chest. So there's where that 515 comes from. And as we've been discussing, anything having to do with occult encryption has layer upon layer of interpretation. So I'm going to leave you these links to further familiarize yourself and acquaint with all of this information. But one of the points I do want to bring out here is that if we're looking at Revelation chapter 5 verses 1 through 5, and notice of course that's that nice 515 for you, it's talking about the scroll and the lamb. And so this having everything to do with looking at the sour scroll that is sealed with the 7 seals and wondering who, if anyone, will ever be able to open it. So keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that just a little later on here. And so just to reiterate some things for you, there's the 500 and a 10 and 5 on the side on the right, so that you can see that coding. But let's break it down a little more, and do remember, if we take those numbers 5, 1, and 5 and add them, we get 11. And so just like the number of points on the Qliphoth, and representative of a number that many ancient civilizations have held as being a negative or evil sort of energy number, you do see on the base of the Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty is sitting upon an 11-pointed star. And so do remember, this is the lust card, often then correlated with the ideas of Babylon. And so it's very interesting when you're looking through this coding for 500 and a 10 and 5. Notice that the Jewish value is 2017, a year a lot of people are worried about, and you see the destruction of the world in reference to Hollywood Babylon, as well as 9/11 was a false flag. Of course, looking down below, you see the reference to the 33rd degree, America / Babylon destroyed, government conspired, as well as these numbers 3 and 444. And if you multiply them as you see I've done there, it gives us 1332, which is the same as 666 times 2. Again, immensely important, and it will come up later. But do remember that Dante's Divine Comedy is all 6-letter words, so there's that 666 for you. And of course, if you multiply those down, 6 times 6 times 6, it is 216, just like the simple value for 500, 10, and 5. Again, another way of looking into that to understand more of the layers that are at play here. So remember, because we've been talking about so much of this having to do with nuclear destruction, there were 216 atmospheric, underwater, and space tests that were conducted by the United States. Alright, so look up top as well there, and talking about the discovery of nuclear fission on December 17th, 1938. And that 1938 is the same value as love is the law, love under will. And so we'll come back to all of that in just a moment here. But so let's get into talking about the prevalence that we see of this 515 when we're looking through some of the entertainment bits. Alright, so here we have from David Bowie on his 22nd album titled Heathen. And do remember, the 22nd number is the master builder number, the number of trumps, and the major arcana for the tarot deck, and a whole slew of other things we've discussed. But do notice, came out 2002, that's another one if you drop those zeros, the 22 there, and that immensely important June 11th release date. date. And so do remember that I had a video banned discussing June 11th before it came and went, and so be sure to go back and watch why I discussed the significance there. Now look at this. So Bowie was 55 when this album was released, and again, that master number. But notice here, this title referencing 515 is track number 9. And so, of course, as I stated, 515 reduces to 11, so you could read that as a veiled 9/11 there. But the track is titled The Angels Have Gone. And so take a look at this over here. The right side of your screen, the Jewish value for that is 1092, which is the same as The Audacity of Hope. Remember, this is the book that catapulted Barack Obama into the public spectrum and really made him a candidate for things. Now take a look at all of that, but let's keep going here. On the left side of your screen, you see For the Angels Have Gone, religions are about control, the Bible is about the occult, Church of Evil, and Apocalypse chapter 10. Now let's unpack this a little bit. So staying in tune with this 515, the discussing of this sour scroll here, notice when we go to Revelation 10, we're still talking about it. And I want to draw your attention to verse 9 down here, in which they're asking, and the angel tells him to take it and eat it, but that it will turn his stomach sour, but in his mouth it will be as sweet as honey. So now, keeping this in the lens of the occult, if we just subtract the 2 there, it's chapter 10, verse 9, that 109. Now, remember, we've talked a lot about this, and I want to just reiterate that 109 is the same simple value as Los Angeles, Saturday, and 17. You'll also see it's the same as making love and having sex. And again, as I've talked about, all of that energy so powerful being harnessed. Now, do note that Saturday this year in December, the 17th, is sorry, it's a little jumbled, but Saturday, December 17th is happening this year, and it's the 352nd day, and I've done a lot showing you why that's so important. So it's just mind-blowing that this comes up in this capacity here. And so do also remember that on the 109th day this year, Hillary said she always carries the hot sauce in her bag, the direct reference to, what's her name, Beyonce, her song Formation. Do notice this 109 is the same as Rose Bowl, which is where she played on May 14th, the same day that Kenneth Grant dies. All of this stuff. And so let's jump back here now, though, because we're still talking about this Angels Have Gone, Apocalypse chapter 10 thing. And so take a look here, because now honey in my mouth, but when I had eaten it, my stomach turned sour. So now again, the same methodology here, chapter 10. Now verse 10, same Jewish value as the Audacity of Hope. Wild. You see reference to Revelation, secrets of the absolute, devil's dogmas, limitations. You see the master manipulator, as well as initialized program, and the reference to numbers that talk about Pilgrim Society, one of the most influential organizations that I have been doing research on for you. So now take it one step further here, verse 11, then I was told you must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, languages, and kings. And so changing that to the 11 there, do notice that this coding has come up for us off of the cover of Erykah Badu's But You Can't Use My Phone, and you see here it does have this reference to nuclear dissolution. Now the English and simple values for this in particular come up as formation, high by the beach, hotline Badu, mark of beast, all of these very critical components here. But what I really want to drive home in this thought, because it's saying, you know, the Bible is about the occult, it's about control, and you clearly have somebody taking a psychedelic here, transcending dissociating, as it were, in order to contact this divine, this divination. And I don't know why there is so much apprehension towards this concept when it is something that has clearly happened. I guess it's because for those, it's only for the one who is able to eat this scroll, right? But again, you see those layers in there. But now let's keep moving here. The English and simple values for the angels have gone are the same as Beyonce Knowles. Remember that Formation song, all the things, and it's the same as 459. Now we're going to talk about this in just a minute. This is from Bridgit Mendler's song 515, and you see she's talking about walking out the door, at 459. But let's finish this out here, because you do see reference to Alexander the Great, as well as Sweet 16, Evil Intention 72, again immensely important number, the law fulfilled, all will manifest 333, and devil in disguise. All right, so now with this 459 being in the coding for Bowie's song with 515, it's crazy that now we're going to look at Mendler's song called 515, and I want to show you it's track 11 off of her album Hello, My Name Is, and we're going to get into her being a Disney personality in just a moment here, the shows that she appeared on. But so notice here it's a little jumbled, but track 11, 515, the length is 3 minutes 55 seconds. So remember, the 355th day this year is December 20th. But so let's look at 515 and clock time here. 6, critical, 11 letters, critical, add them together, you get 77, just as critical. So now down below, the Jewish values: Queen of Babylon, as well as Lord of Destruction, brother of the Freemasons, and deceptive. And so why this is so critical to me that we have this Disney personality doing this song is because of the simple fact that it's making sure that this apocalyptic number is instilled into the heads of absolutely everybody. All right, so if you'll notice here, the English and simple values for this are also the same as Backbeat Books, the publisher for Maynard James Keenan's biography. We're going to be talking about him throughout this later, but watch the video I did on him talking extensively about this book. Of course, that nice hidden hand on there, all the things. But so, of course, beware the T, also sharing the coding here. And we're still just talking about 515, but remember, I've been talking about beware the T as in the 20th letter, as in the Aeon, okay? And so again, that's the decapitated head of John Edwards there. And of course, the Aeon card, the 2 X's, the 6 that we get from reducing that 24th letter. All right, so all the things here look forward. 515 has written out 20, just like that 20th card. You also see Holy Grail, Earthquake, the Occult, Solar Flare, that's a big deal, Shooting, as well as Ring of Fire, the Cross, and Theology. Now, look at Bridgit Mendler's name here. I want you to see that both of her names are 7 letters. So of course that nice 77, very critical for us to see. She's born December 18th. Also very interesting because it draws attention to the day after the one I've been discussing, December 17th. But so do notice here, if we take that 77 from her name and reduce it all the way down, it gives us 13. The death card, very interesting because her ES values have the killing name encoded in them. But check this out. Her Jewish value is the same as the dog has fleas. Now, of course, this is something I bring up time and again, but from the episode of The Simpsons where they learn to worship serpents, Marge is writing this on the board for Bart. Of course, it's 11 on the clock. I've talked at length how it shows you a 9 and 11 on the clock through a time lapse, but you have reference here to sex, again, that energy and this Disney character, all of the MK Ultra stuff that has been connected to them, as well as Disney randomly airing hardcore pornography, all of the other subtler things throughout the movies. It's really in plain sight. But you also have terror, operation, and Thoth/8. Remember the adjustment card. What all of this comes down to, this idea of balance. So again, take a look at her ES values here. it is telling you to see Mark of Beast, and what I do want to show you is the most recent one where this came up, because it wants to let me roll through all of this. So bear with me for just a second here. Alright, so there you have Illusion there with that 666, 111. I just wanted you to see for Mark of Beast there, and it has all these other song titles and concepts that we've looked into throughout this, alright? But notice as well her English value of 840 has the same coding as the Holy Grail. Now, very interesting because 515 has Holy Grail, and so it's interesting that her name gives us the in front of it, so giving a significant amount of importance there. And we also see this reference here to Vision of Pan, of course represented on the 15th tarot card, the Devil card in Crowley's Thoth deck. Alright, so now let's take a look at that 840 that comes up with Rance Stoddard, again the man who is central to Liberty Valance, that whole story, and I've talked about at length, but do notice that value has 7, Order of Rosicrucian, Obama's damaged right eye, the death of the Antichrist. Talked about all of these concepts at immense length, so just see how they all fit in there. And notice that his English value is that 1332, which is just like that 1332 from the series of numbers we found earlier. That came up in our coding, and it's also the same as 666 times 2, all of those things. But check it out: True Holy Angel of Death, Morning Star / Lucifer, as well as September 11 attack and Impossible Coincidences. You also see the Beast of Revelation and Key to the Apocalypse. So very stunning stuff here. Let's keep going. Check out Bridgit Claire Mendler as a full name. We take those initials BCM, reduce them down to 2, 3, and 4. So if we mirror and are the same as Stefani Germanotta, which is Lady Gaga's actual first and last name. Of course, gotten a few videos on her, but so do notice here Bavarian Illuminati, the Singularity, Demon Mind Control, and the Satanic Bloodline next to the End of Humanity. So what I want to do here is let's jump back and show you another set of lyric from Bridgit Mendler's song here. But so she keeps saying 5:15, not a minute more, and so I wanted to look into that phrase, not a minute more, and you have reference to Return of the King as well as the number 600. Now this is a very critical number because do remember it's the English value for Fuck Me Good, a lyric from Beyonce's Formation that CNN was quoting, and I did a whole video on that because they were making it a point to say I came to slay bitch, in all of those pieces, so look through all of that there, but also remember, more importantly, I would argue that 600 is the Jewish value for Don Payne, who was the writer of the first episode of The Simpsons, in which this new intro debuts, where Jebediah is decapitated, his right eye is impaled with the ice cream, and so again, do you remember the zesty pizza sub over there? The kill shot from Iconoclast, but again, all the things we've talked about with ice cream, the right eye, even Jebediah's statue color gives him a darker looking skin than Ralph, which really only furthers my notion that this has a lot to do with an impending assassination on Obama. So now with that, and looking at that Jewish on the right still, do notice you have reference to the Large Hadron Collider, End of Days, the Cross of Death, One Dark Eye. I mean, I really cannot overstate that. You also see XX, again taking us right back to the Aeon card. You have 13 and the 131. It's critical to look into, but also remember that the 600th episode of The Simpsons was the 27th installment of Treehouse of Horror, and again, I have discussed that at length for you, so be sure to follow up with it. Alright, so now keep going here because Not a Minute More also has reference to totalitarian fascism. Now looking down below, the ES values are the same as Mother Monster, okay, Lady Gaga's nickname, that double 13, the 44, however you want to break it down, but it's also the same as Minute Brew Nescafe, the guys who got the commercial spot after we were told JFK was shot. You see order out of chaos, manifest destiny, the source of evil, murder was the case. And again, look at this, the 1098, which is the English value here, is the same Jewish value as tax, guys. And so the reason that we bring this up for you is so that you can see and do remember that on SNL there was a skit involving hotline bling and Donald Trump appears and it flashes tax, guys. So remember, Erykah Badu, one of my big centerpiece people I've been looking at, had a cover of Hotline Bling that Time magazine of all publications decided to do a story on, and they have this photo of her on a September 11th of last year with one of her eyes covered. So now, very stunning to me. But so if we jump back here, looking at that Jewish value on the right side of your screen, you do see reference to 17th, just like December 17th that we talked about, and surprise nuclear attack. So very, very stunning. And again, when you put it with all of the pieces on the left side here, but notice as well Obama's damaged right eye and economic meltdown. So as I stated earlier, this song of hers, 515, from Bridgit Mendler, appears on her album Hello, My Name Is. And so what's interesting here is it has the same values as Love is the Law. And so we'll pull that up for you again. Remember that December 17th, everything we were talking about with the nuclear fission, that year 1938, same as Love is the Law, Love Under Will. But so now if we just separate it out for Love is the Law, and you see this 906 coding here. Let's see, I'll pull one up for you a little further on, and I'll just type it in like this. Alright, so you have these references to the man bearing water, USA president, building a world, angel of darkness, the Rosy Cross, all of these things, Illuminatus. And what's important as well is that Hello, My Name Is has the same values as Des Moines, Iowa. And so that segues us into our next 515 song title that comes from Slipknot. And so let's jump back here for you so we can catch up and do again. Remember that the 93, the 666, all these connections to Thelema and Crowley with this Do What Thou Wilt, which we've talked about so much in the past. We did have from MTV Celebrity Deathmatch when they randomly flashed Destiny's Child in front of all of this here. But so take a look at this over here. This is the second album from this band, and so track 1 titled 515, and we'll also be talking about this other track, the final track, Iowa. And so before we get into all of that, do notice here, and let's take this bit by bit, that Iowa is a 4-letter word starting with the 9th letter, so that 4 and 9 giving us 13. There's your death card reference again. But do notice that the Jewish value is the same as Sarah Jensen. This is the woman who helped Maynard write his autobiography, Perfect Union of Contrary Things. Now if you take it one step further here, you'll notice that 960 is actually also the English value for Project Vulcan, and It Wasn't Love. So of course Project Vulcan, It Wasn't Love is the hook from Lady Gaga's Perfect Illusion, and Project Vulcan is what Homer celebrates in the 27th Treehouse of Horror. And again, we've talked about these banners behind them and what they represent, but you see this is Project Vulcan right here, in which we have this volcanic eruption that destroys not only things across the United States but across the entire world. Alright, so very, very interesting to me to see how all of that comes into play here. And bear with me while I pinwheel out. The English of 288 is the number of pages in Maynard's book, the one Sarah Jensen helped him write. And on that cover with the hidden hand, remember that 288 is THH. If we reduce it down, again, our reference to sex, evil, blood, hoax, XX, on and on. All right, so again, take a look at some of this here. You can see that Iowa is the 29th state admitted into the Union. Of course, that is the number of bones in the human skull. 2 and 9 is 11, just to bring it around for you. But let's get back into the 515 Slipknot song here. And I want you to see the Jewish value coming up as homicide, as well as the prophet Isaiah. Do see here as well the English value, that 228 is the same simple value as adult film industry, as well as Beyonce, Knowles Carter, Mystery Box of Fun, and The Way to Suck Egg. So it's also the same as United States of America, The Key of the Rituals, and FEMA concentration camps. So this is very critical to keep in mind here, because again, with the adult film industry and all these references to sex, you have all of that energy that is being taken and used for other things. Remember as well, Mystery Box of Fun is a 15-letter phrase that appears in that episode with Beyonce versus Missy Elliott from Celebrity Deathmatch. So do take a look through all of this here. And now what I want to talk about is from the title track, Iowa. If you listen to it backwards, it is clearly backtracked to say, "Don't look at me." And so I actually have this. Remember, this is the 153rd year since President Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving a national holiday. And so, of course, that 153 is also the same as the Illuminati, as well as In the Right Eye, and a whole series of other things that I've discussed with you in the past here. And I really want to see if it's going to let us get this. I guess if not, let's just jump back here and finish out some of these pieces from Slipknot. And it says, "Don't look at me." I'll leave you the link for that other bit there. But reference to secret areas, as well as face the music, foreheads are sealed, is the horned god. You see LA gets annihilated. Again, Los Angeles came up in that December 17 coding with that 109. You also have an image of the beast, the programmed and terminates. Now down below here, do see that the ES values are the same as 515 death. So remember, if we were looking at the track 515 that opens this album, and the only thing he says is death, I'm just combining those two, and you see that it comes up the same as "Don't Look at Me," which is what is right in reverse on the ending track code in Des Moines, Iowa. But so in any case, look through this, picking Wonder Woman again, WW55 as their mascot there. But check it out, they've had other Disney characters such as Winnie the Pooh and Tinkerbell serve as ambassadors in the past. And so just hideous concepts to me. But so do notice though that phrase, "I want pizza," this is from Lisa the Iconoclast. She's getting ready to tell the truth about Jebediah Springfield being a bloodthirsty pirate who is a fraud and a part of a secret organization. And in the background there, you do have Zesties, which they did bring all the way out to the new intro for The Simpsons here to have in the background. So saying, "I want pizza," you see how for me it is a very easy line over to wanting an assassination. So do even remember that in the, I believe it was Treehouse video that we recently did here, that pizza actually comes up in the coding. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was for Dry Hard. But so again here, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that computer doesn't decide to crash on me here as I'm trying to put this together for you, because it's already happened today. But so let's see here. And again, when it stalls out, just take the time to really look over this information here, and see how just deep it all reaches. All right, so there you have it. From Dry Hard, again, the first segment in 27th Treehouse of Horror, in which Ralph dies. He's the first to die. We'll talk about it, but pizza comes up. You also see reference there to In December. Okay, so I will come back to that more later, but again, to the left side of your screen here, reference to Worship Hell, as well as He is in the Hoax. And so since Don't Look at Me as the same ES as 515 Death. I figure if I take what is backtracked in this closing title song and the only words said in the opening song and put them together, that I would get an interesting combination. So you see here the Jewish value reference to economy, dark intentions, conqueror, as well as Hastings Center, which I'm going to talk about here in just a moment, but you also see CIA/NSA double agent. Now, look at the ES values here, because they're the same as Not a Minute More, as well as Mother Monster, Order Out of Chaos, and all the things that we were just talking about with Bridgit Mendler and her 515 song. Now, one thing I do want to remember to get in here is that she did have a song released just today, November 4th, and I honestly had no idea that she was working on something, but you see this Nemesis EP is going to be her latest output here. But so take a look at this because it's really going to solidify a lot of the points that I'm making for you here. But if you look at the values for Nemesis EP, you do see that 334 appears for the Jewish value there. So if we pop back here and get this in here for you, I want you to see that it's the same as Misfits. And again, remember everything with the 138, but look at this as well. It's the same as High Tech Fighting. This is the episode with Don Trump versus Don King on Celebrity Deathmatch. Alright, so I've talked about that in the past, but keep going here. Well, and I guess that's all that I have for the 530, and then so the ES value is the 630, and that's what I was looking for right here, is it's the same as Gunsmoke. And so remember, this is from the end credits of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, the 27th one, and it is in Al Jean's name. We'll take a look at it later, but look at all of these things over here on the right side of your screen so you can see just how heavily all of that connects over. Now, very, very stunning to me, alright? So now, let's jump back over to the left side of your screen here. And I want to pull out Hastings Center for just a quick second here. So remember, it comes up in Don't Look at Me Death. You see it there, and so Hastings Center is the premier nonpartisan bioethics research institute, and it is headed by a woman named Mildred Z. Solomon. Now, she's one of these interesting people where, try as you may, you cannot find a birth date for her, and it's very interesting to me as well, because when we go back here and we're looking at this bit from Graham Hancock, talking about the significance of this 515, one of the 33rd degree Masons that he's talking about, who conducts one of these initiation ceremonies, his last name is actually Solomon. And so again, thinking about these royal bloodlines and passing it down, it's really a lot to consider and a lot to keep in mind when trying to understand the immense significance just buried in all of this information. Alright, so let's jump back over here though and take a look at Mildred Z. Solomon. So 15-letter name, and the first thing that comes up in her coding is President Donald Trump. And do keep in mind that there's the whole theory that the cells of presidents' Halloween masks has been a predictor of the past several presidencies, and there was a report saying that Donald Trump did outsell Hillary in that, so keep that in mind. You also see John Rockefeller, as well as the sudden rapture, fire of Holy Spirit, and Satan, a name for energy. Alright, so absolutely what all of this has to do with. But so notice her ES values come up as a lot of things that we've looked at in the past, but do see here the reference to the number 1220, the 355th day, as well as read between the lines. This is a lyric that's going to come up a little later that's very important, but do see here reference to Mr. Barack Hussein Obama, as well as Mark of the Serpent, Yellowstone Lake, and the planet Saturn. Again, all of this revolving around worship of that, the ideas of limitation, evil, time, whatever. But so keep going here. Notice for Slipknot Iowa, if we were to look at the band and the title of this album we're looking at, you see Infamous Butterfly and another reference to Economic Meltdown. Remember the butterfly, the MK Ultra programming, the 3 phases of it, so forth. But again, all of these talks throughout here about the economy, manipulation of it, and it being a huge factor in us destroying each other. But you see the eye of consciousness, as well as Lucifer is not the bad guy. So remember this in the sense of the 15th card, in which we have Pan, the goat, but he has that third eye. And again, when you see this phrase here, the demons are the good guys, this is coming from a lot of writings from Kenneth Grant, in which he's talking about the Qliphoth is actually trying to help us destroy our sense of ego and many other things that get in our way of becoming truly enlightened and balanced. And so really a lot to say, but keep moving here. The ES values are the same as the myth of Jebediah. This is why Lisa does not talk about the truth when she's getting ready to be shot there with the Zesties thing that we looked at earlier. But notice here that you do have reference to the Alpha and Omega, as well as economic downfall, this 177, and Legend of Atlantis. So again, very interesting, just keeping it in line with Bridgit Mendler here. Her first single from her new EP is titled Atlantis, alright, and so it goes back and back. This is the myth of Jebediah thing I was just referencing for you there. But so now let's keep moving with the 515 appearing in titles. And so notice here from the Who's 6th album, of course the Lover's card, do notice those release dates there, but it is track 11 on here as well. So how very interesting. So jump in over here and notice that the album name Quadrophenia is the same Jewish value as the Brothers. Remember, this is the alternate name for the Lovers, and that is the 6th tarot card, just like the album that this is being released on. You see reference to UN of Satan, FEMA preparation, dishonest NASA, cult leaders, spirit of lies, all of these very critical components here. And so it's also the same English and simple value as 99. But so now keep going here. I do want you to see that for this release of 515 here, it actually was a single on this album. A fan-made video premiered in which there was a contest and somebody draws this image building from the skull and the target in the middle of it there. But in any case, they add the members of the band, destroys it. And I want you to see, though, when we're looking at all of these things for the Who 515, it was released twice as a single. The first time, the B-side was the track Water, and again, keeping in mind that 5-letter word, W reduces as 5, so you've got that 55. And the second time it was released as a single, it was with the B-side I'm One. And so let's take a look at this over here, though, because 515/I'm One has the same Jewish value as Cleveland Heights. And so do remember that Cleveland Heights, 16-letter word, right, is where we saw this bit with Don King and Donald Trump, and Donald King was supporting Trump in that cross with the ubiquitous red cloak behind it. But remember, these two went against each other on this celebrity death match here, and every time I see that picture I think of this, where we have Trump's bloodied hand being raised in victory and triumph here. Alright, but so take a look at this here, though, because Cleveland Heights, these references to May 14th, as well as Magnificent 11, the Devil of Death, and Change in November. Okay, a very big concept that we've been talking about here. Okay, you also see again 9/11 false flag, or 99 false flag, alright, just like we see the ES value from Quadrophenia up there. Alright, so now the English and simple values for 515 I'm One are the same as Barack Hussein Obama. as well as Jebediah Springfield, and that should really be as airtight a connection as is needed to get that across there, that they represent each other. But look at this, it's also the same as Woody Strode, and this is the man who throws Tom Donovan the gun in Liberty Valance. Notice this hanged man symbolism in the shadows here, as well as the portrait of Abe Lincoln with the indentation in his forehead. Again, I've talked about how that does not normally appear in that photo, but so it's also critical because it's the same as the seventh seal, Barack Obama head wound, final Antichrist, as well as Obama gets headshots, also the same as Mayor Eric Hogue. Remember the man who got the magic bill introduced to Congress, David Copperfield. All the connections, all the things I've talked about with him being a clown from age 15, the devil card, and the whole list of stuff we talked about. Now, notice here for 515 Water, if we switch this around and look at the first single it was released as, the English and simple values are the same as New World Order and Maynard James Keenan. Now, here we go, getting into our last bit here. So notice that he has the same values as Whacking Day on the Jewish end. And again, the episode with the dog has fleas, and we were talking about earlier where they come to worship serpents in Springfield. But do notice here, you also have reference to Across the Abyss, secret societies, Seven Thunders, all of these concepts that we've been talking about earlier. But now let's do one last song here. And now 515 is not in here, but with Maynard James Keenan coming up like this, I really have to just go through this lyric for you from this song Anemia. And so if you look through here, he's talking about needing to destroy LA, and the only way to do it is to to literally flush it all away. Tidal waves, apocalyptic earthquakes, all of these things. But you see, learn to swim is one of the lyrics they've emphasized here, and is because it is one of the things he says throughout the song. But notice here, you have reference to CERN 666, as well as the Babylon working. Wheel of Tarot, it was demolished and we can annihilate them, next to the phrase beasts of war. So again, this is the wheel card, right? The fortune card of the tarot deck, and do notice the beasts that sit upon it. And I highly advise you to familiarize yourself further with that card so you can really understand the implications of it. But so now notice the ES values for Learn to Swim are the same as Liberty Valance, as well as Dallas Trademark. And so remember, this is the scene here where Pompey, played by Woody Strode, tosses John Wayne his gun and he shoots Liberty Valance. Rance thinks he did it. It's this whole brilliant thing, and we've talked about this so very much in the past. But so again, notice here that it's also the same as GB33ZB, the license plate from Rick Ross and Erykah Badu's car in the remix of Window Seat, in which they're going on a killing spree, alright? And so you'll notice that Delivering Karma pops up in that coding, as well as Skull and Bones. You get 29, just like the number state Iowa was admitted into the Union. We have this nice 66, and again, I talked about this extensively in my previous video with 997, but also see the path of Resh. Very important. Remember, Dallas Trademark is where Kennedy was heading to when he was assassinated. There's David Copperfield, who appeared just moments ago with Mayor Eric Hogue for the Magic Bill. And again, since we're talking so much about the adjustment card, Copperfield is mentioned 8 times in the Magic Bill. David Copperfield was Charles Dickens' 8th book, and again here, Delivering Karma. This is all the adjustment card has to do with: balance. There's no such thing as justice. So now in this song, as we're saying here, it talks about destroying LA, and he says, see you down in Arizona Bay. Now I know when you're looking through the lyrics on this and you're going to cross-check me, that it appears as "I'll see you down in Arizona Bay." But again, if you actually listen to the song, the word I'll is not in there. So again, one of the things that I do is look into phrases with C in front of it, as it's a cataloging and referencing sort of coding. But now look at what we get here when you take "you down in Arizona Bay." You have reference to stop the CERN Hadron Collider while you can. We didn't do that. You also have the Bible promotes human sacrifices, slavery, and cannibalism, and the phrase extremely advanced high frequency gematria. Now that's what anybody who is still watching this video is attuned to, alright? This is an extremely high frequency set of information. But look at this. The ES value is the same as your next Gunsmoke, alright? So there's the bit, the Gunsmoke part from the 27th Treehouse of Horror in credits there. And again, Maggie with the gun firing off a shot. I mean, it just goes on and on. You see the second coming of Christ. We get the numbers 144. That's the episode. Lisa the Iconoclast. You get 441 if you just want to invert that there. So remember, that's the same as Lady Gaga. It's the length of Salvatore. It's the same as Tom Donovan. Okay, it's the same as MK Ultra. Grand Architect, Kill and Not Be Seen. Is an incredibly important number, okay? So let's keep moving here with it, though. There's one more for you. I knew I had one more. It's the same as Simsorama. So remember, that's the episode in which we see this decapitated Jebediah Springfield 2017 death of Ralph Wiggum, the 11-year-old child. But so now take a look back here. We have 11, 11, 11, 11. Again, if we add all those together, we get 44. And so that image you just saw of Bart on the chalkboard, this is still from the Dog Has Fleas segment. And of course, Barack Obama, the 44th president. 4 times 4 is 16. On and on, we can look into that number, okay? So now, keep moving with it here, though, because I want you to see here you have this 11th day of Christmas reference, as well as California Superstorm and University of Texas. Now, I'm going to get into that later on here, but so now in that same lyric, this Anemia song from Tool, you have Arizona Bay is where he's saying that he'll see you down in. You have reference to 9/11 attacks, Vatican bombings. You get the number 19-7, which is the same as Luciano Pavarotti, as well as I Know the Pieces Fit. This is from Tool's Schism, a huge song that I looked into. It's the same as Volcanic Eruption. 7 trumpets. It's the same Jewish value as Prince, but so I'll get you down here to where Luciano is. You can also see it's the same as George Dr. Death Nichols, the man who exhumed the 12th president, Zachary Taylor, for conspiratorial reasons. Again, the huge connections that has to the Iconoclast episode from The Simpsons. Now, keep moving here, though. The ES values, same as Rick Ross. Remember, we're just looking at the license plate of the car that he was in with Erykah Badu when they go on the killing spree in the video. RR, that's 99, both letters, or excuse me, both names, 4 letters. You have that 44. So you can also check this out as All Fall Down, Nuclear Fire, Satanic Leader, and what I really want to show you here, Swan Song. So now, all of this always coming back to Lana Del Rey, track 13. Remember, the death card is Swan Song. So those S's reduced down to 11. And we also have both words being 4 letters. There's that nice 44 again. Now, notice this. You can look at it as 1144 if we just want to put those two next to each other. And so do remember that when I was looking at the opening ceremony for the Gothard Base Tunnel, that 1144 was the time that this really bizarre picture was posted at. And I was talking about all the things. You see live ritual, large frenzy, which that's clearly a part of, V-shaped forehead mark, as well as the Typhonian Colt. Now, all of that so critical. Do notice that Fabian Perisinato has the same English and simple value as Don King versus Donald Trump. Now, Fabian, that guy's last name there, is the one who posted this picture at 1144. And as I've been talking about, Twitter is a highly potent tool that they use to convey messages. So again, looking at this, that's where I'm getting the Don King, Donald Trump bit here, and it is going to come up as you see down below here when we start to look into a lyric. But before we can get to that, so notice here, if you add 11 plus 44, there's that 55 again. Swan Song is 5 minutes 23 seconds. You can get another 55 out of that. But what's really important to keep in mind is that 523 is the same Jewish value as Choo Choo Chump. Now that's that 333 from those C's there, and it's also, remember, this is from the 27th Treehouse of Horror. Ralph is the first to die. You get Hit the Target, Fisheye, VI, Election Fraud, as well as America is the Dragon and the Builders. Alright, so of course you see the ES values there do come up the same as Tom Donovan, alright, tying us right back to Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. And you also see reference to Judgment Days, Matt Groening, Federal Reserve, 93, all of these critical pieces, alright. But so now, in the song from Del Rey over here that we're talking about, she talks about white tennis shoes extensively. Now, I don't have the lyrics pulled up for you, but you can easily go and cross-check me on this. But you do see here organizations of global umbrella agenda. Of course, it's a 16-letter word. This Jewish value is the same as 1549, the same as Pennywise, the writer for the Simpsons 138th episode. Again, I don't have a picture pulled up for you on that, or I think the one I was intending to have is this one with the bullet cover from the Misfits. Again, the A side, We Are 138. Something I've looked into tremendously and questioning why, of all numbers, what are the odds that the Simpsons would choose the 138th episode to do a clip show spectacular, as it were. And so again, a lot there, but keep moving here. You see The Greatest Show, as well as Crazy Cult Members and the New Order of the Ages. So the ES value for white tennis shoes, again, you see coming up Don King / Donald Trump. I also want you to see how it comes up as an occult conspiracy. All is not as it seems, an apocalypse scenario in the Manhattan Project. Remember, we've tied this connection to both Lady Gaga and Donald Trump, as Gaga is right from Manhattan and Trump is centered there himself. So you also have No Escape of Apocalypse, as well as The Number of the Devil and He Who Ends Humanity. Now, again, throughout this swan song, she's telling her lover to say goodnight. And I just want you to remember that that is the title of the first episode of The Simpsons, the first short that appeared on the Tracy Ullman show. And so again, those are also the first words that are spoken by Maggie. You can see on the right side of your screen here all of these connections here, very troubling. But so let's get one last bit here. This is the last two pieces of information I want to show you. So looking at 515 some more, and 44, because they're both so critical. Let's think about the signs for exit only. Alright, E is the 5th letter, O is the 15th. There's your 515. Both the words are 4 letters. There's my 44. And so again, if I wanted to look at this as 1144 or 55, just like we just were, that is possible. So for exit only, the Jewish value of 924, very important, because you see reference to the deceiver, violent Rosicrucian hoax, the Ku Klux Klan, and mystical arts. Of course, it's interesting because the Klan allegedly just gave their endorsement for Donald Trump, and so very interesting again when we're thinking about what we saw with Mildred Z. Solomon coming up. But so do notice here that 924 Jewish value, the English value for it, again, spans a huge chunk of research that we've done. You see Cleveland Heights, Tony Bennett, Born This Way, as well as Mary Fishmas. Again, all these things where if you're still watching this video, you understand and see how critical that connection is. You also have the Antichrist, Queen of Babylon, the Law of Thelema, and Lord of the Flies. Okay, so keep moving over here. I do want you to see the ES values for exit only do have the same as Simsorama. Again, that episode where we see Ralph's tombstone, and you also have honeymoon. This is the album that Swan Song is off of. Barry White is the guest appearance on the Whacking Day episode. So again, looking through all of this here, Judgment Day, the Lovers, all of these critical concepts. All right, so now rounding the bend into the last last segment here, I want you to see this building that is 515 feet tall. And so again, one last set of this for you. Again, there's that headstone from Simsorama, all the things, but let's talk about the Frostbank Tower, because it's 515 feet tall. It opened on January 23rd of 2004, and remember January 23rd this year is when Trump said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. This building, let's see here, 33 floors, that master Masonic number, and has 15 elevators. Again, the Devil Tarot card and all of the connections that Prince instilled in everybody's head with what that has to do with things. But so now let's jump back here before we talk about who takes residence here. But so notice Frostbank Tower, you have the powers that be, criminal activity, a deadly virus, and January 2nd. And so notice down below here you have George Washington, the death of humankind, and just thinking with the powers that be, and you take a look at who takes refuge here, you see that you have Morgan Stanley, Ernst & Young. Again, these are two of the biggest financial consultants in the world. You have UTIMCO, and this is representing the University of Texas in some way, and I can't remember the article I saw on it, but that is absolutely why I think that University of Texas bit continues to come up here. But so in any case, notice back here the ES values, you have, write this down, Brotherhood of Death, as well as again the Lord of the Flies. You have the written out formula of INRI right here, as well as Evil Black President. So of course remember formula of INRI, coming up with all of this Masonic coding. Of course you saw George Washington as well appear in this coding, that 1122. Of course the atom, that's 33, and the simple value there was the 187. Again, if we're thinking about that in reference to the police homicide number. Okay, so again, here's enthroned Washington for you, which was erected when, or excuse me, debuted when Eliphas Levi was 22. Again, because this looks just like the goat of Mendes that Levi designed. And so many things there. All right, last bit, just about, it is now owned by Thomas Properties, this Frostbank Tower. And so let me not get all jumbled here. So Thomas Properties, just like Trump, Pence, and again 2016 coming out of TP there, 16-letter words like 2016, but look at that, you have subterranean bombs, the circle at last complete, and bring silence in disguise. You see means of production, of course, very important. You have the day of reckoning, as well as read Kenneth Grant's books. You see reference to Lady President and Kingman, Arizona. So we're going to come back to that in just a second here, but look at the ES values. Same as I choose you. And remember, this is from Ralph burning Lisa's Valentine and dressed as George Washington, all the things we've discussed in this. It's the same as the mysterious T, again the name of this episode, in which we have this whole bizarre occurrence playing out. You see Master Mason's word, as well as first to be raptured, thoughts about Payne, from sea to shining sea, in this January 13th, and I told you earlier that 113 would come back up. So let's pull it out here, and actually I'm just going to do it like this for you, because I know it comes up in Salvatore. There it is with the simple value, reference to Apocalypse, Universe, Trumpet, Hellfire Club, the Sun God, the Hand of Fate, same as Eric Lee Hogue, that is the man who got that magic bill going, as well as Miles Davis, again, trumpeter extraordinaire. Now, check this out. Since Thomas Properties is the one who currently owns this Frostbank Tower, in it we get Kingman, Arizona. So I want to show you, if we go back and we look at Kingman, Arizona, It's really interesting what we get with this, because you'll notice that their motto is the heart of historic Route 66. So there you have the nice inclusion of that number in their actual motto. But take a look at just these numbers that they have down here for the total area of land, just these triple sevens bursting out of the seams here. It's elevation level, 33s. Look at the parallels, 35th parallel, 114. I mean, it goes on and on. But I don't want to sidetrack too much picking apart those components there. But so notice if we go for Kingmen to see the coding, you get danger, Liber AL again, critical, and this ties us back to the adjustment card, and you have reference to Beetle again having to do with the moon. But check out the ES values, same as Beyonce, Lemonade, Del Rey, Ralphie, Ralph's nickname. You see Texas, where Frost Bank Tower is located and where we got Kingman, Arizona. You see False Flag, as well as the Law, One Eye, Bad Book, Black Hole, and Obama ARFID. Alright, so again, all of that just absolutely critical here. And let's end it on this piece, because the end of Liberty Valance has the end in a train, and the intro for Lisa the Iconoclast has the end with the American flag over it. And as you see there, underneath we have directed by Mike B. Anderson. So take a look at this here, just to tie everything together. Mike B. Anderson, Jewish value of 366. Remember the number of days in this year in leap years. And remember, this is the 7th leap year since The Simpsons full-length episodes started to premiere. But again, same as Formation, Sade Bring Me Home, Iconoclast, the concept from this actual episode, as well as treason. You see reference to a satanic mark, as well as Black Sun, again, code for blacken the sun, assassination. You see the blood of man, criminal career, disappearing, as well as many other pieces there. Now look at the ES values, because they are the same as Washington. The dog has fleas. Pennywise, city in a garden. This is the motto for, or excuse me, the nickname for Chicago, Illinois. Okay, and remember, Springfield is where Obama said he was going to be running, but all the things that we talked about. But do notice here, Rosicrucians, non-servium, again, I will not serve, White Horse, Seventh Seal, Black Skeleton, the Path of Mem, this is the Hanged Man, as well as Moon and Sun, and outright the Serpent. Okay, so that's all I have for you. I see how it all connects, and it's very troubling to me. We're just sitting back and waiting for it to all unfold. It is very irritating to hurry up and wait for such a thing, but so there's the video for you. I really appreciate all of you taking the time to watch this and consider this information, as I feel it is incredibly important. And again, please be well.